Obesity in the United States is an epidemic of immense public health concern because about 42% of the population is classified as obese, and it has been linked to a number of chronic illnesses. Obesity and excessive weight gain is of particular concern to pregnant populations because of the increased risk of adverse health outcomes for both the mother and the child. For example, obese pregnant women are at increased risk of preeclampsia and gestational diabetes, and there is an increased risk of adverse infant outcomes such as lower APGAR scores, stillbirth, and fetal macrosomia. Despite these increased risks, about 48% of pregnant women gain in excess of CDC recommendations, and rates of prepregnancy obesity have been consistently rising. The increased risk of adverse health outcomes and high prevalence of obesity in US pregnant women make it critical to study the factors associated with obesity during pregnancy. Both perceived stress and weight status have been linked to dysregulation of the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, which may serve as a mechanism linking these factors and disease risk. This mechanism has been previously studied in non-pregnant women where significant associations were found. However, this has not been looked at in pregnant women. Therefore, the study investigates the possible associations between subjective stress, weight status, and cortisol variation in pregnant women. We hypothesized that weight status and perceived stress would be positively correlated and that both weight status and perceived stress would be associated with maternal diurnal cortisol variation. This study used data collected in the Infant Development and Healthy Outcomes in Mothers study. 125 pregnant women in their third trimester from a health professional shortage area in southeastern Idaho completed a variety of measures. This study looked at the perceived stress scale, anthropomorphic assessments, including weight, height, and waist circumference, and diurnal salivary cortisol assays. Data analysis included Pearson product, moment, and bivariate correlations conducted using SPSS. The results presented here are preliminary, but a few points of interest can be noted. First, as expected, perceived stress was positively correlated with pre-pregnancy BMI and third trimester waist circumference. However, unexpectedly, perceived stress and third trimester BMI were negatively correlated. No correlations were found between cortisol variation and perceived stress, BMI, or waist circumference. We also found a few correlations between socioeconomic status and the variables looked at in this study. Particularly, increased socioeconomic status was correlated to decreased subjective stress. Income and age were positively correlated to cortisol variability at the 45-minute post-awakening. And overweight mothers were more likely to have greater household income. Ultimately, as a takeaway, these results are only preliminary, and we plan to further analyze the data to look at the directional relationships among maternal weight status, stress, and cortisol variation. However, the current results do contradict existing literature in that we found no correlation between cortisol and weight or stress. Additionally, the significant results found in regard to weight, stress, and socioeconomic status can hopefully point us in the right direction when considering covariates, moderators, and mediators during follow-up analyses. I would like to thank the participants of the Idaho Mom Study, the Perinatal Psychobiology Lab team, the ISU Office of Research, and Department of Psychology. Please direct any questions about this study to the emails listed on the bottom right-hand corner of the poster.